I'd like to call to order the Public Improvement Commission hearing of November 16th, 2017. The first item is a poll hearing on a joint petition by Verizon New England Inc. and Eversource Energy to install one utility pole on Enterprise Street, Dorchester, located on its northeasterly side at address number 15, generally northwest of Boston Street.
Good morning. My name is Penny Kane, and I'm here to represent Verizon to respectfully request permission to place a new pole on Enterprise Drive to serve a new building, Enterprise Street.
Patty, do you mind speaking up just a little bit? Do you mind just repeating what you are proposing today?
Yes, this is Penny Kane, and I'm with Verizon, and I'm here today to ask permission to place a new pole on Enterprise Street for the purpose of serving a new building there.
And the co-petitioner?
And I'm Sheila Gillis, here on behalf of Eversource Energy.
So this is a new pole going in front of? A new pole going in front of which property?
New pole going where?
This is part of the South Bay development.
So it's going in front of 15?
Yes.
What's the street address?
15 Enterprise Street.
Enterprise Street. And the property owner has been
Yes.
notified?
Is the proponent.
Property owner is the proponent. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. And this will just be a new pole between two existing poles?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Any questions or comments? Amy or Todd?
No.
Okay. Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion on a joint petition by Verizon New England Incorporated and Eversource Energy to install one utility pole on Enterprise Street, Dorchester, as read into the record by the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by Eversource Energy to relocate one utility pole on Wambeck Street, Roxbury, located on the southerly side between addresses number 92 and number 94, generally east of Harold Street.
Good morning. I'm Sheila Gillis, here on behalf of Eversource. We request a grant of location to relocate one pole, 2190/17 on Wambeck Street, and this is necessary to provide clearance for a new home at number 94 Wambeck Street.
I know, Sheila, there's been, this was a poll hearing before, it was withdrawn. You've had a number of conversations around this. Can you talk a little bit about the process you've gone through since this was originally on the PIC agenda?
We had met, not me personally, but they had met, I think, out in the field to discuss with the property owner and also, I believe, with the abutters. And this decision was that the pole would be relocated as it was originally presented.
Ms. Gillis, if you can amplify some of the understandings for my benefit. The current pole that is to be moved, what street address is, or within what property limits is the existing pole? There's a pole that needs to be moved.
The existing pole is in front of the new home, 94.
90, okay, so it's the same property.
Yes.
And
It's
it is
being moved
moved?
over to the left, and
Okay.
it still remains in front of 94's property.
Is the property owner here by any chance?
Might as well see.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you? Ms. Gillis, can you?
Yeah, good,
Sir, you are?
good morning. John Feuerbach, Senior Development Officer for the Department of Labor Development. It was formerly city-owned property. The property was deeded over to Windale Developers. They are en route. I was told they were, they should be here any second, but they're technically the property owner.
So can you or either one of you testify to us whether you can testify as to whether the pole that is being proposed, the new location, is in front of the property that you speak of?
Yes.
Can you attest to the same testimony?
So the pole remains in front of number 94 Wambeck.
Yes.
Yes.
Other questions or comments before Mr. Callender? No. Amy or Todd? Okay. Mr. Callender?
Hi, Grant Callender, 92 Wambeck Street. And actually, I do have pictures. I've had the city engineer say that the pole is going to be a foot over onto 94's property. It shows right here where the proposed pole is going. It's right now, the edge of it is over their surveyor's property line. A plot plan that I had, that from a surveyor that I hired, who wouldn't actually stake it out, did send a plan, and even that plan brings that line a couple more inches over toward theirs, and I have the plan right here. Okay? So the pole is actually more of it is going to be over the property line. The issue that we have is that we're going to need now to, because of the area that was dug out, we're going to have to get like cherry pickers or scissors lifts up on this side of the house in order just to get up to the upper levels. If this pole is moved over this way, there's no guarantee that we can get any of this apparatus up on this side of the house. The pole can be moved over that way with several different options, but they're not being discussed. As long as these houses behind here aren't serviced by this pole, then this pole can service this unit, this house right here, and within the other options, either going underground there, putting a pole on our property, which we'll gladly do an easement for if we have to, because a pole on our property in the rear won't get in the way because we can't get around the rear anyway. And then we also have the abutting lot where they can put a pole down here. There are other options that aren't being mentioned by Eversource or the developer because they'll cost them money. All I've been trying to find out is the sale prices compared to what the estimated cost for Eversource would be for some of these options. And all of these continuances that we're getting, and I'm sending emails, I'm getting no answers. So I'm just respectfully asking for one more continuance and have them just give the information that I'm requesting, and it'll show that it's more than fair, especially if we're willing to put poles on our property for this developer who's just going to sell the house anyway, and there's still a dispute with the property line that's ongoing now, still a dispute. But it'll show it's more than fair for him to pay for that, because he's selling somewhere between 18 and 20 units on this one project. So he's getting a profit, and he's leaving us with a cost for as long as we own the house. We're either going to have to get apparatus over there, or we're going to have to hire a crew every single time to put a lift. What do you call it? On hydraulics. I'm sorry. Scaffolding on there, just for the simplest projects, simplest weekend projects. So that's our concern, and we're just asking to actually have them consider, like, look at these other options, which aren't being mentioned.
So I think there's two pieces, Mr. Callender, that you've raised. One which is related to the question that Para asked before around the exact location of where your proposed relocation is. So just to return to the same question, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you have done surveys of where the new pole would be with respect to the property line. Both of you have done that, right?
Well, the designer who designed this, when he went out and he checked and he saw, where as opposed to put the pole, normally they set it up basically at the lot line. But he chose instead to keep it over in front of the same property, not knowing the result of all of this. But he intentionally had put it there so that way it wouldn't be at the lot line.
Okay. And so both of you believe this is in front of number 94 Wambeck Street. Is that correct? Okay. And then the second piece which Mr. Callender has raised is around whether there are alternative ways in which the same service can be provided, one of which would be putting a pole in the rear of number 92.
Yes, it can go in 2 different locations.
Well, just as very quick background, this is a city-supported development. It's 18 units of mixed-income housing under the Neighborhood Homes Initiative. We had numerous community meetings, and it's also been supported by the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association. So that's one, just as background. And the second, there's been a couple meetings on the site with the abutter, D&D's construction specialist, our D&D's chief of design, as well as the developer to go over the matter. Most recently, I think it was a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, there was a meeting in the office here where we discussed this as well as other options, and the other options were refuted, just not being technically feasible. So we have explored other options.
And can you just tell us briefly, John, what those options are that you took a look at?
I would like to see the conversation to staff if possible.
Yeah, so we discussed the notion of if the pole moved away from the property line even further, and a pole were to be placed in the backyard of number 92, and Mr. Callender requested measurements, which you have in front of you, that show that a 3-foot standoff to the property on the other side would put the wires through Mr. Callender's home, and it couldn't reach a pole in his backyard without intersecting the back of his house.
Any questions? Any other questions or comments, Mike?
I just want to gain some clarity. So, yes, we have multiple surveyors that have stamped survey drawings. There's more than one survey.
Yes.
Do they agree?
No, I have them right here. They don't agree. And the one that I had done moved the line over more toward 94, which is going to put the pole more over to 90, more over
So I'd like to
onto
see
92.
both surveys to see if they agree. Number 2, what is the hardship that you're claiming? Are you claiming an aerial trespass of the wires?
Wires
Is that,
are
No, not at all.
so you're not claiming an aerial trespass. So what is the hardship that you're claiming? So the wire, so everybody agrees that the wires, if the pole was placed where it's proposed on the drawing, they would not be over your property line. So,
No,
so what's the hardship?
Yeah, we don't mind putting a pole on our property as long as it's in the rear. The hardship is going to be the fact that we're going to have to get something, machinery, like I said, a scissors lift or a cherry picker, something on the side of the house to get up to that, to those upper levels. And if this pole is...
So like a home improvement project? So you're saying if I have to, access my gutters, work on my roof? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, anything from the second floor above now, because there's no more space to bring a ladder out safely. So anything that has to go up on those upper levels, go up to those upper levels. And if this pole is moved over, which right here is clearly, you can see where the survey mark, the existing one was, or is. This picture is from 2 days ago. And you can see where the pole is, and the pole is clearly already over that line, the edge of the pole. So what we're looking for, depending on how big, and this is a smaller one that only goes 26 feet high. So we would need something bigger than that. And our concern is just getting it up to the side of the house. And if this pole is moved over to the right instead of the left, there's no way that the pole will ever be in the way.
How can you get up there now, though? So what you're saying is the angle of the ladder would have to be kicked out, and it would be underneath the wires if the pole were moved. Imagine if there were a wall at the property line. Today, you would have to cross the property line to access your roof with a ladder because of that angle, right? If there were a wall there, you still wouldn't be able to access your roof today. Is that accurate?
No, it's not accurate. I'm showing you on the pictures, sir. It's about this area right, I don't know if you can see, this area, and we're going to have to take out this small retaining wall here also as a result of this, just to get something up on the side there. So we have 7+ feet on the side to move something up there. This one here is 3 feet wide. So there'll be plenty of room to get something like that up onto the side of the property. So it's just a matter of, if the pole is over here, depending on conditions, when we're looking to get something up there, I was saying it will get in the way and impede us getting something up there if it's over here, where it absolutely won't.
I think the heart of the matter comes down to where the survey says the wires and the pole will be, because it's really hard to claim a hardship on your property for wires that won't be on your property.
It's not wires, sir. We're talking about the ability to get apparatus up on the side of the house.
So access.
Yes, absolutely nothing
Access
about
from
wires.
the street towards the side yard.
Pardon?
Access from the street to the side
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Not wires at all. We don't mind having the wires over. And if the pole is moved to the right and to the rear, where the other pole where they're saying that there's not enough clearance, I didn't get the measurements, but
Okay, very, all right.
they could move the wires, and this is another thing that we didn't discuss, all the options weren't discussed, is that why can't the wires like these ones here be just moved out from the pole just enough to make that clearance? And you can stand here, you can look at this picture, and you can stand there at the site and see that, again, what Ms. Corden just said is not true. It won't go through the house. You can see just from this picture here, I took a couple of angles. So it may come close, they didn't take the measurements, did not take the measurements. All I'm asking for is just more time where we can actually discuss this and have these figures brought out. So full disclosure, which hasn't been done yet with all this time.
Understood.
I just keep getting stonewalled.
Well, I think we've added some clarity here that the issue at heart is access from the street to the side of the house with whatever machinery you choose to put on your lot.
Yes.
That's
what we need.
The crux of the matter.
Yes.
It's not clearance, it's not aerial trespass.
No, no.
Yes.
Excuse me, but I know there's been cases and situations like this where if a customer is working on their house and there's wires going, if they contact Eversource, Eversource will come out and
Put
put
protection.
covering or whatever it is over the wires
It's not
to
a wire
allow the
issue.
customer to work in the area.
Okay.
But folks, again, for my clarification, the impedance which this gentleman is claiming by the relocated location of the pole, that impedes his ability to service his house, I'm going to assume, sir, that the access to your property, you want to ensure that access within your property limits, as your property limits come onto the sidewalk.
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
good, sir. This pole, as being testified by these two individuals, are within another property. Okay?
It's not true, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So, both the petitioner and the property owner have testified to this commission that they are of the opinion that the current pole and the relocated pole is still within the property that they speak of.
Yes, I heard them
Okay.
attest to that.
Thank you, sir.
Did you discuss the access issue at the meeting you had last week?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And were solutions were explored about?
We're not impeding the frontage, so
Right.
he would be using his neighbor's frontage to access that property, and that is not something that we were entertaining.
Right.
So I can't hear it. I didn't hear what you said.
We did discuss it, and that the frontage that you will have to access your property in front of your yard remains the same. You have the same frontage. This pole will not impede your frontage. It'll impede the frontage of number 94. That if that impedes your ability to access your side yard, then that would require you using your neighbor's frontage to access your side yard. And you were formerly accessing your side yard by putting a ladder on that property. And so that's the issue, is that you cannot continue to use your neighbor's frontage to access your side yard. That's what the change will be.
Yes, and we are looking to use our property, but
Which will remain
No, it's not. The pole is not, and the pictures show, they show the line that the surveyor, that their surveyor put out there, and it's all, the pole, it shows the pole is already gonna be part of that line, and where my surveyor, who I'm still disputing, shows that it's a couple of inches over from there already. So the pole is gonna be even further over. I mean, this is a picture from 2 days ago. So
In order
it's
to
not
absorb the
disputed.
discrepancy, which we have found it might get down to inches, the pole will be more than a foot off of the property line, so that any discrepancy of inches will
Yep,
still
so
keep it firmly in front of number 94.
Just to clarify for Mr. Calendar, I think we can all agree that you can't rely on a neighboring lot's frontage to access your property,
Yes.
right? We can all
Yes.
agree on that? Right, you have to rely on your frontage to
Yes.
access your property. Okay,
Yes.
so everybody's clear on that. So really, it comes down to, where is a surveyor or multiple surveyors certifying where the lot line is? That's what it's gonna come down to. So we're gonna determine that, and then that's gonna determine the fate of where the pole goes,
Okay,
is where
and-
where the property line is.
I'm showing you that.
Yep.
What-
Yeah, but we gotta get it from a registered surveyor, and we gotta get it from more than one registered survey and see if they agree.
I have the plot plans here, and there's still a dispute with the second one, that he didn't finish the stakeout. So there's still an ongoing dispute. There's still an ongoing dispute.
Okay.
I'm filing complaints against it. All right, but even with that, the plot plan that he sent Ms. Cording prior to that meeting shows that line that's existed there is moved over.
The plot line I received still has the pole in front of 94. not-
Yeah, so I understand that maybe we don't agree with the survey still needs to be clarified. But I think for purposes of a continuance of this hearing, I think now we've added clarity to exactly what the crux of the matter is. So what we need to do is get the results of the surveyor. It's stamped by a licensed PLS, and that's going to be the determination of what the decision is on this matter. So,
And we have two stamped plans from two independent bodies who have affirmed that the location of this pole is in front of 94, not 92. Is that correct?
I
I'm sorry.
personally don't have, no.
Yeah, so there's one from Merrimack, and
Yep.
then there's one from the D&D development project. So all of our site plans, our curb cut applications, and all of that stuff are on plans stamped and signed by both a surveyor and an engineer. All of the plans that we have, regardless of discrepancies between them, there's not a single plan that shows the pole not being located within number 94.
Plot plans,
Pictures
are
show
they
that
mortgage
it's
plans?
not. That's
We
what I
have
don't understand.
plot plans.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mr. Collins, I very much, we understand and appreciate your perspective. We have sort of several sort of documents at this point that are these stamped surveyed plans that are affirming that the location of this pole is not in front of 92, that's in front of 94.
I'm showing you the marks, sir. So the survey plans show that the pole is over the line, not the entire pole, but it absolutely is not a foot away, as Ms. Corden said. Like this orange mark is what Merrimack, their surveyor, had put there.
Yep.
Had read from back in January was that mark, and then the lines were staked in August. So that's what I'm showing you, that what they're saying is not true, and I'm showing you, I have proof right here that what they're saying is not true. This testimony that they're giving is not true. It's not just me saying it. I'm showing you the pictures, and I have both of the plot plans here with me. Like I'm showing you that. So, not all due respect.
Yes. No, I
disrespectful.
No, I appreciate that. I think what we will do, we can, I think, take an action on this, but what we can do is we can make sure that after the pole has been moved, that it actually does fall as it was indicated within the survey plans in front of 94 and not in front of 92. And if obviously it does impede on your property, then we can revisit this matter. But we have the proponent and two different sources saying that we have surveyed plans saying that this pole is going to be in front of 94, and obviously we will support you in a review of that after the pole is installed if the PIC votes to approve it. And with that, I entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition by Eversource Energy to relocate one utility pole on Wambeck Street, Roxbury, located on the southerly side between address 92 and 94, generally east of Harold Street, with a caveat that after the pole is installed, that we'll get proper survey to actually verify that it is in front of the proper address.
May I ask a question? How is it that I can, what is my actual recourse for this, for the decision? And again, with all due respect, gentlemen, like I haven't
I think
never
it's part of
got
the
a strong
caveat
answer.
of the motion.
Exactly.
Basically, we're gonna have, if the pole's installed, they'll be required to have a registered land surveyor verify in fact that it sits on that property line.
Certify the location of the pole and the location of the property line, a licensed stamped plan. Right?
All right, so even though I do have both of the plans in my possession, and they'll show you right now that it's not true, like they'll show you that the pictures, and that's the mark from the survey.
We hear you. Again, we have plans for the proposed location which are showing that this is in front of 94. We will make sure that if this pole is installed, that it is indeed, in fact, in the location that they said, and that location is in front of 94 and not in front of your property at 92. So Commissioner Hansford sort of started the process. Does anyone want to second it?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Ryan Spitz on behalf of City Councilor at Large Michael Flaherty.
Please.
First off, sorry to briefly interrupt like this, but we've heard the concerns of Mr. Callender, and so we're going to strongly encourage that whatever the decision may be, is that all parties continue to work together with the abutter. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Ryan. All right, moving on to the public hearing continued. First item is on a petition by National Grid for a grant of location to install new gas main infrastructure with city shadow conduit within the following public ways in Boston proper and Roxbury. This was new business on October 5th, 2017. Had its first public hearing on October 19th, 2017. Had its first public hearing continued on November 2nd, 2017. The locations are Belvedere Street between Dalton Street and Huntington Avenue between Belvedere Street and Stewart Street at Huntington Avenue. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, National Grid Back Bay IP Main Extension, Boston, 19 sheets dated October 2017.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Representing National Grid regarding this article number 1. I'd like to respectfully ask to continue this for the next session.
Mr. Carroll, can you, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Joe Carroll representing National Grid regarding the article number 1 on the public hearing. Would like to ask for a continuance. Sorry, let me get the other mics. Ask for continuance for the next session.
All right. The request was to continue this until the next PIC meeting, which will be on December 7th, 2017. For those of you who are here to speak about this item, the next item on the PIC agenda is also in a connected project, and so we can entertain public comment then. Any questions or comments from the PIC Commission about this particular continuance on this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion for the continuance on this item.
I'll make a motion to continue a petition by National Grid for a grant of location to install new gas main infrastructure with city shadow conduit in the following public ways: Belvedere Street, Huntington Street, Stewart Street, as shown on the plans. City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, grant of location plan, National Grid Back Bay IP Main Extension, Boston, 19 sheets, dated October 27th.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. The next item is on a petition by National Grid for a grant of location to install new gas main infrastructure with city shadow conduit within the following public ways in Boston proper: Stewart Street generally between Huntington Avenue and Clarendon Street, Clarendon Street between Stewart Street and Stanhope Street, Stanhope Street between Clarendon Street and Berkeley Street, Berkeley Street generally between Stanhope Street and Cortez Street. This was new business on October 19th, 2017, with its first public hearing on November 2nd, 2017. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, National Grid, Back Bay IP Main Extension, Boston, 15 sheets, dated October 2017.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Hopefully your call gets better. Can everyone hear me on this? We'll have to work on the microphones. Joe Carroll, National Grid, regarding Article Number 2, respectfully ask for that continuance as noted before.
Mr. Carroll, if I may say so, there seems to be a couple of people that are interested in this petition and the prior petition, and they may have been coming here on a couple of times to understand what the Commission's desire may be. So do you have some, because these hearings have been continued, and you are confident that within the next 2 weeks, matters that still require resolution can be resolved?
I am.
Thank you, sir.
Currently working on as we speak right now. With respect to the work that the board is doing and is looking for, that's why I'm asking for continuance, not to belabor the point on that.
Other questions or comments by the Commission?
I would support the continuance until we hear back from the City Council on the resolution that they passed.
Amy or Todd? No. Okay. All right. Members of the public? Yes, absolutely. Yes.
My name is Jacqueline Royce. Well, this mic is on, I think. My name is Jacqueline Royce. I'm on the board of directors of the Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay and an active member of NAB's Green Committee. Some of the members of the Green Committee are here today. I'm also NAB's representative to the Gas Leaks Allies. Some of them others out front, and other people are here from the Gas Leaks Allies as well as from the Sierra Club. Physicians for Social Responsibility, 350.org. We're not going to all testify today. We'll save that testimony for later. But I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning, and I appreciate your interest in our green justice efforts to support climate action goals of the mayor for all of the all of the neighborhoods of Boston, including where I live in the Back Bay. The Gas Leaks Allies recently had a most unusual summit at MIT called Common Goals, Uncommon Partners, where over 300 people learned about how National Grid, Eversource, and Columbia Gas worked collaboratively and brilliantly to reach common goals of safety and consistent commitment to fix environmentally significant leaks. That's a fabulous lesson for all of us to work together on common goals. And I had a conversation with Joe Carroll this morning, a brief conversation about common goals that we have and the journey we're all on together to accomplish different timetables, but to accomplish the goals that we all want. So I'm here today for two main reasons. The first reason is I'm a PhD medical sociologist. I've published scientific papers on health risks, primarily on tobacco control policies. Gas pipelines pose health risks, and we have today climate change deniers, just as we did when we fought the smoking risk hazards in the past. Health professionals, for example, introduced a moratorium on gas pipelines. So today, as my family knows and everybody else in the room, I'm working 24/7 on environmental awareness actions. So I am grateful to your help in meeting these goals. My second reason is my children and grandchildren and your children and grandchildren in the room. We just saw somebody's grandchild in the room here. When I worked at the University of Minnesota, I worked with Ojibwe people on health risks of alcohol using their cultural traditions. This porcupine quill necklace that I'm wearing today is a gift from a Dakota bilingual teacher given to me at a powwow. Native Americans always talk about the generations that will follow us. future generations will look back on the people in this room and ask each of us, did you do everything you could to respect Mother Earth's beautiful planet? Nothing like a guilt trip on all of us, but anyway. Where are we today on this gas pipeline? It feels like the tide is turning. More and more people care about climate change. It's in the news every day. For example, NRDC released a study this week that states new pipeline capacity sharply exceeds consumption. Last week I was at the State House where dozens of bills are about natural gas and oil infrastructure are being debated today. Nothing will happen until the decisions are made in July. At noon today, there'll be a big rally at the State House urging the governor to stand up for no more fossil fuels. Michael McCord, who's the chair of the Green Committee, wrote a letter that he couldn't be here, and I'm not going to read the whole letter, and I'll leave it with you. And I want to close with City Council unanimously passed the resolution that the commissioner on the left referred to, and the plan that we have is to move forward with public meetings. NAB board met last night, and they're going to work with Giselle from the mayor's office to co-host a public meeting in early January, probably. And so that's our common goals. The National Grid will be invited to do that. And so I just want to read the last part of Michael McCord's letter. He says, I'm grateful that you have delayed approvals on the new pipeline that National Grid is proposing for to install in the Back Bay. I hope that your commission will continue to slow down the review process so that requested information can be supplied by National Grid and current concerns heard. I encourage you to help the developers and the people at National Grid toward their better selves by requiring them to be part of the transformation of the world from fossil fuels to clean energy. They too need to take seriously their responsibility as stewards of our children's future. Michael McCord is the headmaster of a learning project, a nice little school in the Back Bay. They too need to take seriously their responsibility as stewards of our children's future and the future of children yet unborn. They too must do everything in their powers to move as forcefully as they can, as quickly as they can, to reduce greenhouse gases before the balance tips. Somewhere in the government, a group of public officials needs to stand up to these enormous economic and political forces and say, no more greenhouse gases, no more profits before planet, no more self-delusion about this existential crisis. Would the Public Improvement Commission be that group to stand up? Well, we don't know about that. But anyway, respectfully, Michael McCord, a proud citizen of Boston since 1971 and chair of the NAB Green Committee. And I'll leave this letter with you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you to the Commission for hearing us on this issue, and thank you to Jackie for that testimony. My name is Kalish Castro, and this is my colleague, Michelle Brooks, and we are advocates with the Massachusetts Sierra Club. And as a matter of policy, the Sierra Club opposes projects such as this, in particular projects such as this one that go through the heart of Boston and have a heavily populated urban center. I also wanted to communicate to the Commission that about the energy in the advocate community in regards to this issue. Everyone that I've talked to, the over 8,000 members at the Massachusetts Sierra Club in Boston alone, they're really motivated around this issue. The energy has been compared to the pipeline struggle in West Roxbury. So this is an issue that I don't think the advocate community is going to be dropping anytime soon. So I just wanted to thank everybody here for allowing a public hearing process for this. And I think my colleague is going to say a few words as well. Thank you.
I also just wanted to say thank you to the committee for hearing our concerns. And in addition to what my colleague just said, I want to reiterate that with the city's carbon neutral goal of 2050, we cannot continue to be constructing new pipeline infrastructure that's locking us into fossil fuels for another 40 years. So I just really hope that the commission will think about alternatives and continue to hear all of the citizens' concerns. And thank you again for this process.
Yeah, excuse me. My name's Lee Humphrey, and I'm a long-term resident of the Back Bay. There are many of us who are skeptical about the National Grid proposal to install this pipeline extension, and we would like to know what the justification for it is. The City Council has asked for enough time to review the proposal thoroughly, and approval or disapproval should not be given until this is done. National Grid has assured us that it is necessary, but we would hardly expect it to say anything else. But besides telling us it wants the pipeline, it hasn't, however, presented any convincing justification for what is now called for. This project should be given a review that is independent and impartial, and enough time should be allowed for this to take place. This is not a small matter, and the decision should not be a rushed one. So far, no compelling justification for the additional pipeline has been given, and I hope you will delay your decision. And I also just got this piece from Pennsylvania Public. New pipeline capacity sharply exceeds consumption, report says. Charges that the U.S. pipeline industry is building far more natural gas pipelines than it needs are being fueled by a new report showing that the capacity of lines approved by federal regulators over the last 2 decades was more than twice the amount of gas actually consumed daily in 2016. The report by the Independent Analysis Group for the National Resources Defense Council said the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has approved more than 180 billion cubic feet a day of new pipeline capacity since 1999, when it began its current policy of approving interstate pipelines. The new capacity compares with the average daily consumption of only 75.11 BCFD last year, the report said. So this is another reason why we should look at this very, very careful and examine the justification for it. Thank you.
My name is Richard Clapp, and as Jacqueline Roy said, I'm here representing Greater Boston Physicians for Social Responsibility, which has 1,000 members in Massachusetts. Our organization is part of the National Physicians for Social Responsibility, which urges no new methane-based fossil fuel infrastructure and more renewable electricity generating capacity. And the reasons primarily have to do with health, with public health. I should also say that the American Public Health Association, which is the largest such organization in the world, had its annual meeting last week in Atlanta, and the theme was climate change and health. And again, the American Public Health Association urges not moving forward on more new fossil fuel and gas infrastructure, and instead emphasizing more renewable energy as a matter of public health. It is the greatest environmental public health threat facing this country and the world in the coming century. So I just came to, I know you've heard a lot about this already from other testimony, but those two organizations, Physicians for Social Responsibility and the American Public Health Association, endorse no new fossil fuel infrastructure. Thank you.
So to wrap things up, James Michel, Boston Clean Energy Coalition. I want to acknowledge and thank National Grid, Mr. Nagel, for emailing to us the engineering drawings. As Mr. Humphrey said, though, we really want to understand fully the justification for this project, which means we'd like to see the correspondence, and that was part of the request from the very beginning. Can we see all correspondence related to this project between National Grid and different city agencies so that we can have a more full understanding of the rationale for it. We are not in receipt of that, so I renew the request and am interested in what can be done to fulfill that. Is that a realistic expectation that National Grid should produce that correspondence?
I can't speak to the requirements on the National Grid side. Through the Freedom of Information Act, you can request documents that the city may have, but I don't know what recourse you may have for other documents that may exist. But we can follow up on that.
Well, I'm happy to do the FOIA with PIC and ask for that. But
why don't you send them things to us?
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Andy Bean. I'm with the Boston Climate Action Network. I'm here because, as we all know, climate change is a real and present threat for the city of Boston. And the Boston has very ambitious climate goals to address our role in that crisis. And any new fossil fuel infrastructure must meet an extraordinarily high standard if it is going to jive with those climate goals. This Back Bay pipeline does not meet that standard, and we oppose its construction. Thank you.
My name is Cam Wilson. I live in Jamaica Plain. I'm in Boston Climate Action Network. And there are three things I want to say. One, the gas pipelines are being, a lot of the new gas pipelines are being built to get the gas out to the port to export the gas so that the utilities can make more money. And two, natural gas should not be used in the new buildings being built in Boston. The new buildings should have energy from electricity because that can be used with renewable energy. And three, I want to put in a word for the third world. This is just one step of many steps that we have to put our foot down and stop the train from going over the cliff of the tipping point of climate change, of slowing down the ocean currents and all that, because what we have to do is keep the fossil fuels in the ground. We can't keep using fossil fuels. Thank you.
Any other comments? So as Ms. Royce had mentioned earlier, we are coordinating between the Neighborhood Association of the Back Bay, National Grid, and the City of Boston to have a more public session outside of the PIC on this process. Mr. Carroll had asked for a continuance for until the next PIC meeting, which is on December 7th. So I'll entertain a motion to continue this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition to continue by National Grid to December 7th. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Moving on to the public hearing portion of the meeting. First item is on a petition by South End 10 LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements adjacent to the following public ways in Boston proper: Harrison Avenue at the easterly corner of its intersection with East Berkeley Street, Traveler Street on the southwesterly side, southeast of Harrison Avenue. This was new business on November 2nd, 2017. As shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Harrison Avenue, Traveler Street, Boston proper, 2 sheets dated October 31st, 2017. Is the South End, perfect.
My name is Andrew Hayes. I'm the project manager with Related Beal. With me today, I have Brett Benson from UTEAL, who's our project architect, Mary Marshall from Nutter, who's our permitting attorney, and John Cusack from Bryan Associates, who's our civil engineer. Thank you again for the opportunity to present this morning. This is the second time we are in front of you in regards to our improvement plan for 373 Eddie Harrison. Since our last meeting, we have met with and spoken with the city lights as per your request, and we have some updates to walk through today.
Try to be very brief. I know we have a lot of work ahead of you for the rest of the day. Should we try? Sure. You want to go first? My voice is actually good.
As you all know, this is our second visit to the PIC, and in the meantime, we've been tracking down different review comments from various agencies. We finally, I think, closed the last one with the street lighting section this week. The original plan was to utilize the previously designed program for the Harrison Avenue reconstruction in Harrison Avenue, and then for Travelers Street and East Berkeley Street, we reached an agreement with the street lighting section to match what is in there right now. So basically the project goes to say 5 lights, 5 new street lights, 2 on East Berkeley Street and 3 on Travelers Street. So we think we closed the issue on that. We've done some work in the meantime to formalize a couple of pedestrian easements in the sidewalks at the corner of East Berkeley Street and also along Travelers Street to make sure we had 5-foot clear space in the pedestrian travelway. To make sure we had more than enough to comply with handicap accessibility rules. Normal spacing is 4, we ended up going with 5 as recommended by the state. So I think we've kind of closed the different loose ends. We reached some type of an agreement with PTD on the construction management plan earlier. And we've been working with Boston Water and Sewer Commission. One surprise on the project was there's a bunch of existing water, sewer, drain, abandoned connections there. So we have to go into the 3 streets and do some discontinuances. So we've gone through the site plan review process on really the discontinuance program, and then we'll wrap that up with the new information for the water, sewer, and drain improvements.
I know you just went through it verbally. Our first action is on the pedestrian easements. Do you mind just sort of walking through on the map for Traveler and Harrison?
Just on this PIC plan graphically, the orange color here and the orange color over here are the areas necessary to give us the 5-foot clear space on the cement concrete sidewalk walk area. Because the easements are actually in the area on the 2 corners of the street where there's a lot of pedestrian activity. If you're familiar with the site, the 2 corners are very tight to begin with. There's not much room there at all.
Any questions or comments on the pedestrian easement?
Stop is fine.
Yep. Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on the pedestrian easements.
Make a motion on the petition by South End 10 LLC for the acceptance of pedestrian easements adjacent to the following public ways in Boston proper, as read into the record by the chair and is shown in a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Pedestrian Easement Plan, Harrison Ave, Traveler Street, Boston proper, 2 sheets dated October 31st, 2017.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Our next item is on a petition by South End 10 LLC for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Boston proper, consisting of curb realignment, roadway, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction, as well as new and relocated specialty pavements, street lights, street trees, landscaping, bicycle racks, storm drain infrastructure, and driveway curb cuts. The locations are Harrison Avenue on its southeasterly side at address number 370-380 between East Berkeley Street and Traveler Street, East Berkeley Street on its northeasterly side, southeast of Harrison Avenue, Traveler Street on its southwesterly side, southeast of Harrison Avenue. This was new business on November 2nd, 2017. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, Traveler Street, Harrison Avenue, and East Berkeley Street, Boston proper, 6 sheets dated September 25th, 2017. I know you already talked a little bit about the specific repairs, but if you don't mind, just giving a quick recap of the plan.
Okay, the existing curb line at Harrison Avenue right now is going to be relocated about 8 feet into the current road travelway. And we've been working with the PTD consultant VHB, who's doing the design work for the Harrison Ave reconstruction program between East Berkeley Street and Herald Street. So we matched up vertically and horizontally with the new curb line location. That design wraps it around the two corners about 25 to 30 feet, and we're picking it up from there and going towards Albany Street on both side streets to match existing and terminating at the end of the property line. And we've been going through the process of material selection for the surface restoration program. For the most part, it's cement concrete sidewalk in the pedestrian travel way. There's some porous pavers, strips for a break between the curb line and the cement concrete sidewalk area. There's different types of pavers inside the pedestrian areas within the building right-of-way itself. We're following the city's plans for the street hardware issues on Harrison between street signs, parking meters, and so forth. We're allowing space to match up with where the traffic signal new features are going to go. Both corners are going to have a traffic mask arm, and both corners are going to have a pedestrian push button pole in the corner. The existing crosswalks are going to stay where they are. So we're completely consistent with the reconstruction plans on Harrison Avenue.
So when I last hearing, there was conflicts with the location of the proposed traffic signals with the new ramps that are going in. Is that been
We've
resolved?
moved that around somewhat because it's kind of a graphic exercise, and we think we're okay with it now.
We need an engineering exercise, make sure that it's not a graphic, right?
Well, it's tough on a 20-scale plan. I mean, we have, enlargements, and we can double check that.
Who did you work that out with?
It
wasn't with me.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we took the plans, the 100% plans from VHB, and put them into our graphic solution here, and we've actually moved a couple of them to get them out of the handicap ramp area.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. President. Yes.
So we think that the master arm, sort of in East Berkeley and Harrison, those things have been moved out of the ramps. Yes.
Right, they are now. The push button pole on East Berkeley Street is still in the wing section of the ramp. I mean, there's no other space to do it there. And what whoever gets there first is going to have to put the foundations in for the master arm.
So that leads to my series of questions. The sidewalks adjacent to your properties, including the extension of the curb line 8 feet into the roadway, that work is being done by?
We are doing everything from the curb line in. Correct.
So all the improvements to the site, all the requirements that you as a project proponent working in this area in concern with the city will be rebuilding the sidewalks on your expense. The traffic signal which Mr. Hesford spoke of, which may be in the wrong location with the VHB's 100% plans for good or bad, separate story. Who is to be installing that traffic signal, you or someone else?
Sorry, restoring the traffic signal?
The traffic signal, it is to be
We will be.
You will be?
We will be.
Because I thought Mr. Kusak said whoever gets
He
there
was
first.
He was mistaken.
That's for the
We will.
foundation.
We will do it.
There are 10 parts to a traffic signal. At the end of the day, when the traffic signal needs to be working, who will be installing it, certifying?
We will be doing it.
You, sir. Okay.
Yes.
And so now what is left is the space between the revised stone line and your opposite side, the roadway. We've had a conversation to understand who does what when, and there seems to be confusion as to who does what when. Do we have your assurance that you will continue the necessary dialogue that needs to happen to figure out who does what when, so that the right thing gets done at an appropriate time in the future?
Yes, we have committed to continuing that dialogue with you.
In a constructive way, so that the city is not held holding the shot in the mistake.
That's correct, sir.
Other questions or comments on the specific repair plan? Any Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition by South End LLC for making specific repairs within the roadway within the following public ways in Boston proper, as read into the record by the chair and as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division specific repair plan, Traveler Street, Harrison Avenue, and East Berkeley Street, Boston proper, 6 sheets dated September 25th, 2017.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is on a joint petition by the President and Fellows of Harvard College and CSX Transportation to amend a grant of location for existing conduit within Western Avenue, Boston proper, located at address number 100, generally west of Soldiers Field Road. This was new business on November 2nd, 2017. This is as shown on a set of plans entitled, I've recorded as L-12816 and L-12817, and entitled HDD Bore Plan, Alston, Mass, CSX Romar Crossing, 2 sheets dated June 17th, 2014.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Rebecca Lee. I'm an attorney with Mintz Levin, and we represent President of Fellows of Harvard College in this matter. This matter involves the Harvard taking stewardship of conduits already constructed within Western Avenue, for which a license was granted to CSX Transportation. With me to my left is Kelly McQueenie from Harvard and Bill Perry from CSX, the co-petitioner on this matter. No changes are proposed to the conduit. These are simply being transferred to Harvard stewardship so that it can continue the environmental remediation work. That was the reason that these conduits were installed in the first place. We're happy to answer any questions that the members of the commission have.
Just from we see it from CSX. Thank
Bill
you.
Perry.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Okay. Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve a joint petition by the President and Fellows of Harvard College and CSX Transportation to amend a grant of location in Western Avenue, shown on a set of plans recorded, or read into the record by the chair and shown on a set of plans recorded as L-12816 and L-12817, and entitled HDD Bore Plan, Alston, Mass, CSX Romar Crossing, 2 sheets dated June 17, 2014.
Second.
All in favor? So moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next item is on a petition by Light Tower Fiber Networks for a grant of location with lead company status and 1 participant to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Boston proper: Hanover Avenue, generally between Hanover Street and North Street; Anthony Rip Valenti Way, between Canal Street and Friend Street; Canal Street at Valenti Way; Friend Street, generally between Causeway Street and Market Street; Market Street between Friend Street and Merrimack Street; Merrimack Street between Market Street and Portland Street. This was new business on November 2nd, 2017. It was as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Light Tower Node, Hanover Ave, Proposed Conduit Placement Plan, Boston, 4 sheets dated October 2017. And City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Light Tower Nodes 0716, 0717, and 0718. Proposed Conduit Placement Plan, City of Boston, 4 sheets, dated September 15th, 2017.
Hi, I'm Ryan Martin, here representing Light Tower Fiber Networks to present this project to you as a public hearing. Last meeting, you guys addressed the issue that you needed a contact within Light Tower to provide as-built documentation. I've been told that that's been coordinated with BWSC, and we've satisfied that need. Also, you had asked for a Light Tower and Crown Castle representative to be here to discuss issues that weren't unable to be addressed at that moment. I have Mike Constantino here at Light Tower that he could address those issues and questions that you may have.
Just got a quick question. Yes, sir. In light of events that happened this morning, which were troublesome, there was a fiber damage out on Court Street. Is that you, Light Tower?
I don't believe it is. I would have known about it if it was. We get notification.
We had contact saying with Light Tower, I have Phoenix out there. Then I get kicked off to New York City with MSN. We say they're going through MFS.
I will find out for you right away.
I mean, it's getting ridiculous. I couldn't find anybody to contact to get a status on what the damage was and what's going on there.
It may be the old MFS network, which is not Light Tower, and Phoenix does work for them as well. But again, if it was a fiber cut on our network, I would know instantly. But I will confirm.
I was dealing with a company out of New York City, which was concerning. Okay.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, when this was at new business, there were no participants, and now Verizon is a participant in this. Is that correct?
Right.
doing some rods and rope
Yep.
to determine exactly what we need in the area, but we expect that we may need conduit on Hanover Ave, Friend Street, Market Street.
Got it.
And so we're waiting the results of the rod and rope, but also waiting to hear from our engineers if this application is going to serve our more traditional method.
Got it. Guess sort of what changed between new business and now that made you want to join or feel like you could then now join in this build?
Just late notification and trying to get all the investigative work and answers that we need.
Got it. And how are you typically notified that there's a proposal to do a telecom build in a neighborhood in Boston?
We sometimes, most often get like a certified mailing. Sometimes we get an email.
Sorry, what was the second thing? A certified mailing or a?
I believe this was a certified
Certified
mailing.
So in case the certified mail came a day late and that caused a little bit of a concern on your side to figure out what needs to be done?
No, I think we received it around September 26th timeframe, and we're just still making determinations on exactly, the rod and rope results we ordered, we're rod and rope first, and then we did more recently find out that it was a micro trench, and we're just not sure that would suit our traditional application.
So leading off on that micro trench segue, is all the work being done on micro trenching or is it a combination? So
I would say it's a 90% to 10% split.
90% which one?
No, sorry, 90% micro trenching, 10% conventional. The conventional is
Always appreciate that. Ms. Corey?
Yes.
My memory is not serving me well today, but I feel some of these streets, I'm not sure whether it's a Rick Valente Bay. We rebuilt some of these streets in the West End. Are these in the guaranteed mode? Because I think, yes, so which of them are the guarantees? I mean, micro trench or not? We have concerns about the street being dug up. So which are those streets? Because if ever you are in a position that you are cutting up guaranteed streets, that should be part of your presentation. It should be relied on the commission members' memory or staff to tell us. Okay?
Sorry.
I know that Verizon has completed segments along these streets, Plenty Way, Canal Street. So you're just jumping on this, which we appreciate, is to further expand your system in this area.
We're trying to work it in with our our proposed fire network and layout so that we don't have to.
Because you're on the other end on Valenti Way and Canal Street.
Right
You
now.
just completed those conduit installations, et cetera. So this, now you're jumping on board to continue that as part of this project, correct?
So, sir, the information that is decided by me and maybe other commission members are as follows. Within the guaranteed streets, show the limits which you are doing and whether those limits fall into the micro trenching or the conventional. So could you advise us accordingly?
It was my understanding that it was portions of the streets that were not working within that were guaranteed.
And they did register with COBEX, so that whatever, if they came back as not guaranteed. Yeah, so some of these streets are guaranteed, I just don't know that the sections that they're working in are the guaranteed sections.
It's my understanding that the areas that we are working in are not within the limits of the guaranteed street.
And they went through Mark and COBEX.
But appreciate your efforts to minimize the collateral damage, as always.
Other questions or comments by the commission on this?
So if I may, last time there was a question from a couple of the members about why Crown Castle, now who owns Light Tower, why they didn't pull fiber in the Eversource system. So I just came, and I have members from Crown Castle here as well, but I think I can answer that for you.
Whereas they are now.
I'm sorry?
Whereas they are now.
They are now, correct. That's the short answer, is they've recently been approved.
The answer that they gave us was because of the electrolysis / electrical interference, it wasn't feasible.
I'm not sure, I'm not sure the context of that answer, but the short answer is Crown Castle and Light Tower approved the work in the Eversource system and Pool Cable. We'll continue to operate independently for quite some time, but we are looking already at each other's assets to minimize digging, putting shovels in the ground, if we can use each other's assets until we're fully integrated as one company. But we are both approved to Pool Cable and the Eversource system.
I appreciate that.
I realize it's still fairly new, but do you have a sense of when you'll have a sense of each other's assets, at least within the Boston context?
Weeks ago, literally the day of the close, we were exchanging the maps. We've already eliminated 10 to 14 projects we were going to be looking at digging in the springtime that they have assets for, or I have assets for, that we just are not just doing splice work in a manhole and not digging. So great synergies already, and we'll continue to do that.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by Light Tower Fiber Networks for a Grinnell location with lead company status and one participant to install new telecommunication conduit with city shadow within the following public ways in Boston proper, as read into the record by the chair and is shown on 2 sets of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Light Tower Node, Hanover Ave, Proposed Conduit Placement Plan, Boston, 4 sheets dated October 2017, and City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Grant of Location Plan, Light Tower Nodes 07-16, 07-17, and 07-18, Proposed Conduit Placement Plan, City of Boston, 4 sheets dated September 15, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is on a petition by the City of Boston Transportation Department for the making of specific repairs within the following intersections consisting of new and relocated traffic signal and storm drain infrastructure, curb realignment, as well as roadway, sidewalk, and pedestrian ramp reconstruction. Those locations are Hyde Park Avenue at Dana Avenue in Hyde Park and Meridian Street at London Street in East Boston. This was new business on November 2nd, 2017. And this is as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, Specific Repair Plan, Hyde Park Avenue at Dana Avenue, Meridian Street at London Street, 5 sheets dated October 18th, 2017.
Good afternoon. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we do.
My name is Faisal Hussein. I'm a Vice President at Niche Engineering, and we are working with the Boston Transportation Department on the improvements of 2 intersections, Hyde Park Avenue and Dana Avenue, which it will be a signalized intersection, and also on Meridian Street and London Street, which will be unsignalized, but it will have a rapid flashing beacon at that location. The purpose of the improvements are really to improve access in accordance with the MSAB and ADA, and to provide pedestrian access and safe passage through the intersections, also to improve the traffic operations and controls. The project has been coordinated with all city departments, and including BTD and Public Works, and have been distributed to all other departments for the PIC purposes, and including the utility companies.
You want to walk us briefly through the specific repairs that are being proposed for each location?
It's Dav Chardier. He's the senior project engineer on the project from Niche Engineering.
Thank you, Faisal.
So the first location's Meridian Street and London Street in East Boston. At this location, we're proposing 2 bump outs on each side of Meridian Street. This location will be installing a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. It's a pedestrian safety improvement. And for the WSC comments, we're also installing the dry well at this location with the ADA compliant headramps as well. The second location?
Sir, sorry. Faisal, I missed this at the new business. Right now you are putting a rapid flasher. Is there any possibility that this may require a traffic signal in the future?
Yes. We are equipping the intersection.
Sorry?
We are equipping the intersection with conduits
So
in the...
you are wrapping it up?
Right.
That's all.
Yep. Well, installing conduit handholds where it's
So that in the future, maybe needs not minimize leaking.
And as part of that, we're installing conduit of the central square as well, yep. second location is Hyde Park Ave at Dana Ave in Hyde Park. This location is currently unsignalized. We're proposing a semi-actuated traffic signal, as well as a bump out on the east side of Hyde Park Ave. As part of this, we're installing a catch basin over the existing drain line. Comments at the last hearing was to request that Bradley Head be returned to Boston Water and Sewer, which we'll add the note to address that, as well as to confirm that it's a storm drain and not a combined sewer, because we don't have the room with all the utilities to put in the dry well here. So it was confirmed it is a storm drain here.
Questions or comments on either project? Name your Todd. Members of the public? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve a petition by the City of Boston Transportation Department for the making of specific repairs in Hyde Park Avenue at Dana Avenue and Meridian Street at London Street, as read into the record by the chair and shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department, Engineering Division, specific repair plan, Hyde Park Avenue at Dana Avenue, Meridian Street at London Street, 5 sheets dated October 18th, 2017.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. Moving on to new business. Our first item is Brook Marshall Road, Sojourner Truth Court, Roxbury, pedestrian easements on a petition by Madison Melnia Cass, LLC.
Good morning.
Morning.
My engineer should be coming in soon. Sophia Transmar, Madison Park Development Corporation, and we are before the committee today to present a pedestrian easement as a result of a new business hearing that we partook in on October 5th related to some specific repairs and a discontinuance of Brook Marshall Road. Upon that time that we came before the committee, we were asked by the Public Improvements Commission to extend a 1-foot easement along our development on Brook Marshall Road and Sojourner Truth Way. We have presented that before the committee and are here today.
Couple of thoughts. So yeah, we truly appreciate you stepping up to the plate and doing what you are doing. We recognize the effort that you have put in, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Second, just for point of clarification, on the Brook Market side, the 1-foot easement which you are giving, there's a part that's missing. I'm going to assume that is the segment of the driveway or the internal street that is coming in here.
Correct. At the bottom, yes.
Sarah Leung, the City of Boston Disabilities Commission. We've been working with Sophia and her team, and we give her blessing for this petition and thank her for her hard work.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the pedestrian easement? Please. Yeah, 7th? Yeah. All right, just 3 weeks enough time, which is December 7th, our next PIC meeting.
Okay.
Come back for public hearing.
That'll be with the rest of the projects.
Yeah, it'll be everything together.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So which, maybe 2 weeks or more?
Well, our next hearing is 3 weeks because of Thanksgiving.
Unless you want me to come back sooner, Paolo.
She tells us what to do.
So our next item of new business is Kerr Place, Roxbury, street name change on a petition by the Kerr Place abutters.
Again, Sophia Transmar with Madison Park Development Corporation, and we are before the committee today to present a petition to name the street a section of Kerr Place to extend to Sojourner Truth Way.
Ms. Cording, does the petitioner request conform to the city's current?
It sure does. They're the sole abutter of that section of the street.
It's always wonderful when they are the sole abutter. And again, we appreciate you assisting us to clarify a situation where we feel is a public safety matter, and we appreciate you accommodating that.
And just
any significance to, historic significance to the street from the Veterans Commission? We know that?
So what happens is that we have Sojourner Truth and then Kerr Place, and then Kerr Place makes a 90-degree turn. So instead, Sojourner will be one name, Kerr will be one name, and no street names.
Did anybody check with the?
We're not we're using existing street names. This is no new street names are being proposed.
So it says street name change.
Right. So, but it's instead of having a 90-degree turn, we're taking the street that already exists and carrying it all the way down to Ruggles. Sojourner Truth exists, and that bottom leg is going to be Sojourner Truth as well.
So Kerr Place will also still exist in dispute?
Exactly.
So this is confusing when you say
So
street
let me,
name change.
so right here, currently right now, Kerr Place does occur as Amy suggested.
Yep.
This is the whole entire street. Half of the street is represented as Sojourner Truth Court, and the other half is represented as Kerr Place. So what we're proposing is to bring down the name Sojourner Truth Court all the way down from essentially Kerr Place to Ruggles Street.
So it is changed.
It is changing, but we're doing this to add clarity and not introduce a new street name for public safety reasons.
Okay. I'll look at it.
If we were to have the public hearing on December 7th, is there any sort of public notification or engagement that you would do prior to December 7th?
Yes, we are currently right now, we have 2 properties that are being affected by the street name change. So we are working with our management company as well as resident service coordinators to assist the families with this upcoming change.
Okay. Again, those are rental properties?
Yes.
That are within, but you are doing, even though they are rental properties, you are facilitating an easier transition on their part for the new street name?
Correct.
There's only 2 properties, and one will still, in fact, be on Kerr Place because it's on both corners.
And you'll be doing all the street name signing as part of your project when you rebuild the roads?
I'm sorry?
You're providing all the street name signs as you rebuild the road as part of your development?
I'm not clear with.
So when the new name changes from A to B,
yeah,
who is going to put up the new street name sign called B?
I guess we will coordinate with the city and the street pole signage departments
We would
to do
expect
that.
that it would be your contractor to provide that, build it out.
We're not doing construction in those streets, but the DPW is doing a bunch of work in that area. I'm sorry?
Yep.
So I'm a little bit confused because we don't have any construction going on.
It's literally a sign swap. There's no construction.
Right.
It's taking one sign down and putting it in.
We'll coordinate.
Yes. We'll work together to coordinate that.
Other questions or comments from the commission on the street name change?
To go to the 21st of December, to have time.
Yes. We're
21st?
requesting to go to the 21st of December.
All right. Any other questions or comments, Amy or Todd?
No.
Members of the public? All right, for this item, we'll see you back on December 21st?
Yes.
Terrific. Sophia, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Our next item is 65 East Cottage Street, Harrow Street, Hillsborough Street, and Dorchester, widening and relocation, specific repairs on a set of petitions by Indigo Block Apartments, LLC.
Good evening. My name is Imad Zurain from Develop Zurain. We have before you 2 petitions for a specific repair and a roadway widening relocation. Before I get into the specific, if you don't mind, we have the project architect just go over a quick overview of the project itself. So this is a vacant site currently. It's about 2.7 acres. We have East Cottage Street going here, Hillsdale's up here. This is the MBTA, Fairmount line. There's a stop, current stop right here.
commercial light industry building on East Cottage Street. We have an 80-unit residential building in the center of the site. We have 9 condos in 4 separate home ownership buildings. The residential building in the middle is the rental building. Circulation is a new drive through the site. This end will be a 2-way so that you can access this parking lot, which will be for commercial, and swing for residential. This parking lot is just residential, and we are currently working with the MBTA to develop a new access to this platform from our site, which will allow this entire neighborhood much easier access to that particular spot. Residential neighborhood here, residential neighborhood here, light industry here.
Can you quickly walk us through which are the public and private streets in this? Okay, great. Thank you.
As far as the petitions we have before you, a specific repair plan, basically to, I'll go through the private and public.
Great.
Harold Street is public right to this point here. There's Beckwith to this point, and then Hillsborough to this point, they're both private. So part of the specific repair plan, we were proposing to rebuild the sidewalk on East Cottage and the curb with a new curb cut. There is an existing curb cut for the old site, which we're proposing to close. On Harold Street, we're proposing another curb cut, which should be a one-way. And we're proposing to mill and overlay that portion of Harold Street, new sidewalk, new curbing, and then mill and overlay the private portion with new curb and new sidewalk. And then part of the second petition we have is a widening of Hillsborough Street in this location to allow for the continuation of a 6-foot sidewalk, basically connect Hillsborough sidewalk that ends in this location to Bloom Street sidewalk that also dead ends in this location.
Sir, excuse me, Amy, if you can, since this is a widening and relocation of a private way.
No, so the improvements on the private ways are shown for reference and context. The widening and relocation is of the public way. Or the specific repairs of the public way.
Specific repairs are in the public way. But the widening and relocation, as this gentleman was showing, is on the private streets. Okay, so when the MILAs all go through, make sure that it is clearly denoted that is the widening and relocation of private street. Now, sir, we appreciate all the improvements. I'm sure the abutters within that private way are very appreciative of the improvements. Are you the sole abutter on both sides?
We're not. There are two families.
Yep.
In this location.
Just caught on to the fact that there's more than you living on both sides. What is
we're not, our actions are not about the work that's being done.
Okay, so we are just, it is just good practice that all the good work which you are doing has been consulted with the abutters. It's none of our business.
We've had my man from the part of the development team that met with the neighborhood.
Okay. We just don't want them to come and yell at us about areas which we have no control over. Okay, but they will figure out that we did something and then they try to find us to further their causes.
This is the much bigger context, and at the public hearing, we'll have it broken down to specifically what we are voting on.
Okay. So the widening of relocation, we appreciate all the some improvements you are doing over there, but you know that is you. But these private ways are open for public travel.
Yes.
Right. So what is the street light situation within that private way? Meaning street lights. Do you have current street lights? Are they going to be in the new sidewalks? Are they? Do you have a sense?
We'll have them check with the street.
Because if it is open to public travel, there needs to be lights. Okay. Private or not.
Yep.
You can't be introducing more people into an area and cause them a situation.
And with that in mind, when do you expect the new access point to the Uplands Corner Fairmount line stop to be open?
Construction is expected to start in 2019.
Got it. Okay. And is there a sort of a clear path for the public about how to get to the Uplands Corner Fairmount line stop through your property?
Yes, there'll be signage.
Okay. You mind just sort of quickly walking us through what that looks like?
There'll be signage for the public, actually.
So then
Can you flip back to the other figure?
It'll actually be accessible as well.
Great. That's great.
But on the streets will be crosswalks
Right.
to cross people, across the private ways or public ways to get.
There's a typical curb cut with a very sidewalk here, sidewalk, crosswalk, and a sidewalk to get onto the.
It'll be why the sidewalks, the lighting, the crosswalks will be all the more important. There'll be a lot of folks who will be taking advantage of this access point.
To further the concerns of the Commission, when private ways are open for public travel, especially when it is implicitly implied that there is access to be given freely through that area, implied that they need to have safe passage, the sidewalks and the lighting need, because your average person who is going to go to that tea station is not going to care whether it's a private street or a public street. They expect standard city services, okay? Because there have been situations in years past where situations of this nature has been there, and then later the abutters of the private way get together and close that access. That cannot be the case here.
What is the existing condition to get to that T station?
Yes.
This pretty long, this long ramp.
It's basically from this end, and you have to go through a series of ramps, and then it's a very long platform, which is a dead end. There's no access from the side.
So the only access is via, what, a sidewalk and ramp system from,
Right.
what would that be, the eastern side?
On Dudley side.
Off the Dudley side.
So you will be increasing access to the MBTA station
I would think so.
with your project?
Well, we're making it easier. I don't know if we're going to increase it.
Well, if you make it easier, I would say you're increasing access. Right. You don't have to walk circuitously to get to the.
Right.
Okay.
So is this a large project, small project review, Article 80?
Large project.
So where are you with your TAPA? Transportation Access Plan
TAPA
Agreement?
has been submitted, I believe, about a month ago. I think it's under review by BDT staff.
Is that Pat Hoey?
Pat Hoey.
Yep. And your construction management plan, where does that stand right now?
Construction management plan, I think we're going to submit that in conjunction with submitting the same plan to the MBTA. So that's in the works at the moment.
And when do you expect construction on your project?
We're expecting probably early 2019, around springtime.
Is there any reason why you are seeking our approvals now if you are that far away?
We're basically waiting for funding. It's a affordable housing project that gets funding to the state and the city. So we're just really waiting to get into the rounds for the funding.
You have not submitted a revised site plan to BWSC yet, is that correct?
We haven't. I failed to mention that there will be a water line relocation. We talked about that.
Yes.
That will be submitted part of the development of the buildings.
Yeah, so when you submit the site plan, which is going to have your proposed water, sewer, drainage, infiltration, all those requirements for the site, you need to include the water relocation that is off the site as part of that. Because it's so isolated, it needs to be rolled into the site plan. Okay.
I don't want to labor the point, but I'm a little bit confused, having seen some of this stuff for more than a couple of days, as to why you are seeking this commission's approval of actions when your funding and the project hasn't matured to a point where you are seeking, because normally we don't see this type of a time gap between a decision that is put forth to the commission, because things might change, your fundings might change, and we just don't like to take action that is subject to that sort of a cloudiness in the future. So could you help us to understand why you are seeking our approvals now?
Sure. I think it's a part of the funding requirement from the state agencies and from departments like the Department of Neighborhood Development of the city, is that they want to see the project in their terms ready to proceed. and ready to proceed is really getting all the permits in place and all of the other fundings in place before an agency would fund the project in full. Unfortunately, the state has only one funding round per year, so we don't get the funding 1 year, we basically get kicked to the next round. But before we get funding, full funding, they like to see that all the funding, all the permits have been awarded, and that's why we go through the process we go through.
I cannot profess that I have full expertise on the subject matter, but having seen this project of this nature for some time, to the best of my recollection, is the first. There are other projects that go through this type of funding cycles, and I've never heard, I stand to be corrected, where the funding is contingent upon everything being absolutely ready. Okay, so I may be wrong, but DND and every other agency that is into this type of business processes work. And my only concern is that gap ties you to a course of action, and it ties to the commission, and we may, your funding strategy and things may change unless you are of the opinion that your project will move forward only in this mannerism, which I don't know whether we can say that. I'm not sure whether you can say that. But if you can, that's...
I think what the plans that we submit in front of you and the BRA and the ZBA stay the same until we get funding. It doesn't change any. It's really the process with these types of funding are involved. It just takes a very long time, unfortunately. But we just like to be ready to not give the funders any excuse to not fund the project, and that's why we do it.
So if something changed, you'll have to come back?
Yeah, you recognize that, right?
Right.
Okay. It will be expense on your part to redo the plans to the extent it needs to match the reality of a year or two even. Okay.
Other questions or comments?
I appreciate that answer. I appreciate based on economic financials. One concern I have in talking about changing, as Commissioner Jay said, the community process. I guess you're heading that up. Were you working hand in hand with the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services as far as that process with that? And could you just expound upon that as far as what the process was, how many meetings, who you were dealing with?
Sure. Well, it's a long process that probably started in the end of 2014 when D&D put out the RFP for a request for proposal. We basically met with all of the abutters, the community groups, the civic associations. There's probably, I would say, about 7 to 8 civic associations that we met with before we actually applied for the RFP application. Once we were awarded, we go through a formal Article 80 process. We had a few community meetings that was organized by the BRA, met with butters again through our process about a year and a half. And then obviously we worked closely with, I believe it was Flavio at the Neighborhood Services. So I think with any big project, the community process is pretty intensive, pretty involved. It just takes a long time. Okay.
Perfect. Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments? No. Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right. See you back on the 7th of December. Great. Thank you so much. Our next item is 100 East Newton Street, Albany Street, Boston proper, specific repairs, earth retention license on a set of petitions by the trustees of Boston University.
Good afternoon, or good morning. My name is Walt Meisner, and I'm the Associate Vice President for Operations at Boston University, and my role on this project is to be the project exec. This project is the 48,000 gross square foot expansion and 63,000 gross square foot of renovation to our dental school. That's located at 100 East Newton on the corner of East Newton and Albany Street. The project has been in the making and planning stages for nearly 8 years now, and for the express purpose of improving the quality of education for our dental students. The last year and a half, we've been completing the design that's been informed by the public approval process and the large project review. And it has included an update to our master plan, as well as public meetings and review by BCDC and BPDA. It's also a project that's been subject to review by the Department of Public Health and the DON process. We hope to begin construction, or we're shooting to begin construction in early in 2018. So we're here now to get your guidance and direction on matters of interest to the PIC, and I'd asked Deb Danik of Niche Engineering to present our filing on our behalf.
Great. Thank you. My name is Deb Danik. I'm a project manager and engineer at Niche Engineering. We've been working with Walt to prepare these petitions and the plans associated with them. We've sent out these plans for notification, and so what you see up here is minor tweaks compared to what was previously sent to you. But the proposed project is at the corner of East Newton Street and Albany Street in downtown Boston, Boston South End. And part of the proposal includes the demolition of an existing one-story building to construct a new addition within the site, as well as interior renovations to the building. The project is also proposing to do improvements to the sidewalks around the project site, which include removal of the existing sidewalk to install new sidewalk, cement concrete sidewalk, permeable pavers, street trees, irrigation, and we are also proposing to install some injection wells in order to deal with our stormwater management of the site. Specifically, Albany Street sidewalk is existing 13 feet wide, cement concrete with some granite curbs. We understand that the city's looking at the Albany Street corridor in a bigger picture in the future to do some changes along there. So our proposal is to maintain the existing curb as much as possible. We are proposing a driveway cut to access the loading dock and electrical equipment area as part of our project. So we're Albany Street is the loading dock location. So we're
Could you put up that sketch?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Up so that. Thank you.
Yep, so this is looking at the corner of the building, basically standing across the street. So Albany Street is to our right and East Newton Street is to the left. The other part of the renovation includes basically reorienting the main entrance to the building. Currently it's on East Newton Street. It's going to be moved more towards the corner here at Albany Street. That all happens within the private site.
Sorry, Ms. Danik.
Yep.
The intersection of East Newton and Albany, do we have crosswalks?
There are existing crosswalks there.
Okay. So you will make sure that all four corners will be up to snuff?
We actually will not be doing all four corners. We've coordinated with, so in conjunction with the Albany Street corridor going to be moved in the future.
That is in the future.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, so the existing corner on our site, we will be reconstructing.
That buys you the other three corners.
So when we look at across on East Newton Street, there is an existing lion ramp that will be.
The other two sides?
Yes, and when we look on the other side of Albany Street, we will be reconstructing that ramp.
So punchline, you will look after the four corners.
We will be addressing 3 of the 4 corners.
It's reciprocal, so they don't get the diagonal corner.
Just as is that fourth corner compliant at this point?
I don't know off the top of my head. We can check that.
So if you would be ever so kind, it is so tiny in the larger scheme of things to make sure that the full intersection, because your project is going to add more pedestrian traffic. That's a flat out reality. So we just don't want the situation to be exasperated by the additional wonderful people that are going to go to your facility. So the city does have desires to touch Albany Street, but those desires are quite a few years in the future. Just have a concern that your project may be up and running. 3 of the 4 corners at that wonderful intersection is functioning, and the 4th one may not be up to par. In recognition of the wonderful work which you are doing, I think it is short money to take the 4th corner.
we'll certainly look into trying to address it.
And just to put an exclamation point on the point that you're making there is that I would say it's a reasonable assumption that the users of this building will be parking in the garage across the street and using all 4 of those corners and the crosswalks that connect them.
Yes,
it's a reasonable assumption, right?
Yes, right. That's a common place for the.
So is there an executed tap on this?
There's not an executed TAPA.
So we can include that in the TAPA then, correct?
Yeah, it has been filed.
Yes, and even if it gets missed, do the right thing. I mean, that's all what we are aspiring to, do the sensible right thing so that those who are coming to your building are not being compromised by the current state of the assets.
Okay. So the placement, and I am a little concerned, I know that the TAP is in process, putting the loading dock on a main city arterial, I mean, it's concerning. What was the thoughts behind that?
We have a traffic engineer here from Howard Stein Hudson that can talk to that.
Hi, Ryan Meisel from Howard Stein Hudson. Currently, the loading dock is in the same location. This property right now is owned by Boston Medical Center. It is being sold, and the new owner is not giving access over their private property to the existing loading dock, so that is what forced the loading dock to be entrance to be moved over on Albany Street. So now hopefully this is an interim condition. The reason why they're not allowing the access as of now is they don't know what they're going to do with their site. Hopefully when they figure out what their site is, then we'll be able to get the access back onto this, off the existing curb cut that's already there and off of Albany Street. The other thing you notice is that it's a very small loading dock. It's just for this building. And there is also, there's room beyond the curb cut that has a hydrant and also that will be used as a loading area beyond the hydrant so that we won't really have people backing into the loading dock. The loading, it's not even a dock, it's just a service area. It's not our typical size from the TAPA standpoint. So we don't expect much activity going.
So you're expecting all activity beyond Albany Street then for the loading, which is not what our priority is we want that activity within the building, not on the city street.
Agreed, right. So again, hopefully it's just an interim condition until the neighboring property owner.
That's not going to be an interim condition. That's a permanent construction.
No, well, we have been in conversation quite extensively with the BPDA about this same issue. They share your exact issue.
The transportation department is the people that make that decision.
So BTD planning has been involved, and they, have been aware of it, and the BU has.
Well, I'm raising it right up the flagpole right now.
Understood. BUMC has agreed to, to continue to work on it, and hopefully by the time this building's even under construction or finished construction, we'll have a better solution.
For a building this size, it should be a minimum WB40, W36, and a self-contained dumpster.
So, we have the loading service plan for the building, and it's much less.
I need it. Please get it to me.
Yes.
Will do.
Because the decision's going to be made.
I'll get it to you. It's much less activity than you would expect based on the existing use that's there.
Yes, I had $1 for every time I've heard that.
Understood?
Yep.
It's a very active right turn lane there. Coming down Albany, going on to East Newton.
Correct.
Yep.
So
So you don't want to block it up with trucks that are in the right turn lane.
So there isn't a right turn lane. There used to be a bus stop right here that the MBTA has moved onto East Newton Street. So there's still a shelter there, but there isn't a bus actually stopping there. So we're actually going to gain a few on-street parking spaces there.
Maybe.
Right, until the city plan may or may not change what goes on the curb use, but the TAPA shows that there'll be new meters there in the interim.
You'll be moving the bus shelter as part of the project?
So we were, right, going to move it as part of the project, and then that's when we found out that the T has actually just recently, I think it was within the last few months, has actually moved the bus stop. So it's a JC2Co shelter, so somebody's moving it. They want it moved because there's nobody sitting there, so they're not getting any advertising out of it. So it's in our TAPA to move it. I think it's going to end up happening before we even get to that point because I think they want it moved sooner rather than later.
You guys connect with Peter O'Sullivan on moving the, and then bike parking either on the curb or within the building? Is there any?
There is some bike parking on the back side, yes.
And not on the curb?
I can't tell you how many bike spaces.
I can't even off the top of my head. Sorry, I can get that for you.
Is the adjacent property the Naval Blood Research Building?
Well,
no. Well,
Or is there a property in between that building and this?
There's a property in between.
Okay, so that's the abutter that you're...
That's the abutter.
Okay.
You know, we're co-owners of the Naval Research.
That's what I thought, okay.
Yes.
All right.
And the property in between is the BMC property that is under agreement.
Yeah, that's part of the whole Newton Pavilion?
Yes.
Got it, thank you.
Other questions or comments?
So, sorry,
Please,
one
Deb.
other thing that I did not mention, we do have a request for temporary earth support within
Right.
Albany Street. There's a small portion, we're butting out under the basement of the property for a small stretch. And that face of basement will basically be at the property line, so we will require some temporary earth support along a portion of Albany Street in order to construct the basement for the new water meter room.
Have you submitted a construction management plan?
What's that? CMP, I was told by my colleague, went in this morning. So I think you probably received it.
It's on my desk?
I think since you've been in this room, it's now on your desk, yes.
It was sent out just this morning.
Okay.
You've been here a long time.
Yeah. I got an email while I was in this room that it was delivered, so.
Project team has received Boston Water and Sewer's comments on...
Yes, we have, yep. So we received your comments to the PIC plan about video inspection of your mains in Albany Street, and have added that to the design plans.
Yep, so, and then to clarify, the existing condition video inspection needs to be submitted for review prior to driving sheets, so that we can see what it looked like before the sheets are driven. And then monitoring will only be necessary during sheet driving and excavation activities. You don't need to do it for the entire project, just while the potential is there. We're putting brand new mains on Albany Street. We fully expect them to last 150 years. And then the sewer, obviously, we've discussed as critical infrastructure.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Amy, is this in the G-Cod groundwater pipe?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
So can you fill in the blanks now?
Absolutely,
On
yep.
the questions which is to be asked, so rather than me asking the questions?
Yes.
get the
Yes.
answers.
So included in the specific repairs plan, you'll see proposal for stormwater injection wells, and those have been sized and designed to meet the city's G-Cod requirements of stormwater collection and infiltration into the ground.
So basically has been,
Yeah, so they're catching the appropriate amount of water and putting it back in the ground.
okay, do we need any monitoring wells in this area to supplement his collection of?
I don't think
So
so.
if
I
we
think we
can-
actually have quite a few in this
Okay, so
area.
if you can just circle back with him to make sure that his portfolio is adequate to, Debra, you know what I'm asking, right?
Yeah, yeah. Let us know if you need them.
Yep, he'll let you know.
Okay.
The injection wells are going to the sidewalk. That's part of the specific repair plan?
Correct, yep.
Okay, got it.
Yep, they're shown on the specific repairs plan, and they'll be in Albany Street,
Excellent.
where the sidewalk's wider.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, is 3 weeks enough time? Loading plan, bike racks, et cetera? G-Cod, great.
Yep.
See you guys on December 7th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is 198 Hanover Street, Cross Street, Salem Street, Boston proper, specific repairs, projection license on a set of joint petitions by Charter Cross Street LLC and the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Good afternoon.
Yes, it is afternoon now, isn't it?
Yeah, this time.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Rebecca Lee, still with Mintz Levin. I'm here with Karen Johnson from Charter Realty and Development and Lisa Chow from VHB. We're here on the 198 Hanover Street project. There is at 198 Hanover Street an existing building that will be demolished and replaced by a new building approximately 30 feet in height. It has VRA small project review approval. And we're here before you. The first of the petition has to do with specific repairs. And the specific repairs are being made in part on MassDOT land that's in front of the building. This is the old Martinetti's building. So the plaza in front is actually currently owned by MassDOT, and it's part of the master transaction that will convey the right-of-way to the city. And with us behind me is Mark Boyle from MassDOT, representing MassDOT, who's our co-petitioner. So I'll let Karen tell you a little more about the project, and then Lisa can review the specific repair petition first. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time today. We are proposing a replacement of an existing one-story building with another one-story building, and we have...
You're serious, right? A one-story building?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a long story. We can tell you.
Yeah, it's not a very fun story, so we won't go into that. But essentially what we are proposing is almost an identical replacement of what's there today, with the exception of a taller building, one-story building with an internal mezzanine. We're proposing 3 new tenancies. What's out there today is approximately 10,000 square feet, including 3 residential units on the Salem Street side. Salem Street is approximately a 4-story building, and we're proposing demolition of that building and then approximately 7,000 square feet of commercial area. So it's actually a net decrease in floor area for that location. As part of the overall project, our goal is to, and consistent with the Greenway Overlay District, activate the plaza in the front. And so we are proposing to relocate the Freedom Trail so that we have more of an opportunity for outdoor seating for when we have tenants for our spaces. We are meeting with the Freedom Trail Commission on November 28th. We have reviewed this proposal with the Freedom Trail Commission, the Freedom Trail Foundation, as well as members of the Public Improvement Commission to come up with this location that we're proposing. And I think Lisa can probably go into more details on the specific repairs.
Do you have a picture of the new building that you are proposing?
Yes, we do. We do. Keith Jones is the architect from PCA, and we have a couple of different rendered views.
So this is the Hanover Street side and the Salem Street side across.
The reason I asked for that picture is so that people understand that parking which was installed, you know, that nice little parking street over there. How much is
parking street on this side? The parking is on the opposite side. This is just a fire lane.
The parking that you're referring to is in front of the Joe Paci space, which is the next block down. This area is signed for emergency vehicles only, and there is no parking. There is street parking on Cross Street adjacent to the plaza.
And we have a meeting with the fire department upcoming to discuss what their needs would be in this area in the future.
Did I mishear, or did you say that the Freedom Trail needs to be adjusted for this to happen?
We are proposing to relocate the Freedom Trail, and
because you are looking at the chairman of the Freedom Trail Commission.
Yes.
And,
yes. And we have an email from Eric Prentice telling us we're okay to go to new business.
That needs to take place before you can come for okay.
So we are on for the end of this month prior to whatever our next PIC.
And November 28th. With commission members and these guys out there to discuss this.
And we're relocating the Freedom Trail kiosk also with their consent.
Right.
We tried to check all the boxes.
We yes. Yes.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. My name is Lisa Chow. I'm a PhD as Rebecca and Karen too. We are requesting the approval of the specific repair plan that includes the installation of injection wells for stormwater management, the Freedom Trail kiosk, and the relocation of a portion of the Freedom Trail along in the plaza area adjacent to Cross Street. The injection wells are located here under existing condition. The existing Freedom Trail is very close to this building. We're proposing to shift it closer to Cross Street, approximately 30 feet off of the building face. Associated with the relocation of the Freedom Trail, there is an existing home hangar that does get relocated.
And there are currently bollards that line this plaza. Is this also calling for the removal of those bollards? Is that right?
That is correct.
And lieu of those, what are you proposing anything new, or are you taking the bollards away, or because the bollards were there for some purpose other than just looking
No,
pretty?
so the bollards were there to define the
plaza.
former, it's actually a street that's up there, and that street is gonna go away as a portion of this. So we're,
Discontinued?
right.
So what's going in here? I mean, what's on the plaza?
So right now, the plaza is not used as anything, because
Let them answer.
Okay, so currently there are bollards on the plaza.
Right.
Because there was a configuration where there was a store that had to be accommodated, that was an active retail store. That store is long gone, the bollards have remained, the interim condition was people were parking all over the space because it wasn't signed. Then the city signed it for no parking except for emergency
There
vehicles.
was a reason, but we won't
Excuse
get
me?
in- there's a reason, we won't get into that. But I'm looking at your project,
Right.
Rebecca. What's being programmed, what's the space being programmed for,
Currently,
what's going on?
okay, so currently the plaza is pretty much unused, and it can't be used to help, it can't be activated without moving the Freedom Trail, for one. So the Freedom Trail is being moved with mutual consent. The area currently is owned by MassDOT. They're going to give our
Soon to be
client,
conveyed.
yeah, and our client, and they'll give us a license in the meantime. In the future, if there are future tenants, we'll be back to you for cafe sidewalk licenses for those tenants. But the goal is to get tenants that will help activate the plaza and also to orient it so that it could be used in a more active way.
With that in mind, and this will probably also come up in the Freedom Trail conversation, but if you do come back for a sidewalk cafe license, how far out do you imagine that projecting from the building face, and how close is that then to the Freedom Trail?
And excellent point. The reason that we're pulling the Freedom Trail really out the 30 feet is so that we have ample room for an outdoor sidewalk cafe, and we're thinking approximately 20 feet. The request was to have more space for the Freedom Trail because it is very active in this area. There's also a very widely used placard that gives a map and some examples of some of the historic features within the North End that's mounted on the face of the building that was installed there 8 or 9 years ago by Citizens Bank. So the Freedom Trail Foundation requested that we take that same information and carry it onto a kiosk. So we're proposing, as part of the specific repairs, a location for the kiosk which is adjacent to the Freedom Trail. That way there's enough room for people that are gathering around the sign and for people that are using the Freedom Trail in that area. So essentially a pedestrian activated plaza area is the goal.
My concern is we're removing the bollards, okay? There's not gonna be anything else in there other than pedestrians and tables, and then on a very main arterial street, I have a little public safety concern on having an open area like that based on recent events.
These days, it's
Sure.
not
So a little bit more thought, I think we need to put something in design.
Maybe up against the street, yeah.
Yes.
I think that the bollards coming back in a more appropriate location might do
May
that job.
I add to that thought pattern? So the other, your adjacent lot, our bollard experience has, some people like it, some people don't, but there are opinions about it as to the visual aesthetics of it. When you do consider bollards, there's a combination of bollards that are actually lit. There's a light within the source. So define it so that you actually do define the edge. It is visually pleasing and it provides a safety. It's a little bit, it's a couple of pennies more than the normal price, but I think it's worth it considering the corner which you are trying to play.
We're more than willing to install bollards along that existing curb cut if that's something that you wanted us to install.
Right now, the limited area of that plaza.
Yes.
That's what we would expect.
There's a limited area.
Yeah, and I think that we can get them out and appropriate, and we have a hubway station and a variety of other
Exactly.
landscaping things that I think will complete the edge.
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to jump on, is that this is an exciting project. The building's great, we're gonna rebuild new building, but it's the plaza. So I can't think of another place in the city that's gonna get more tourist eyes on it, maybe Quincy Market. But we're talking Hanover at the Greenway. And if you look at the rendering there, it's just empty brick. So, you know, where's a Hubway station going to go? Are we planting trees? Are there going to be decorative aspects to the surface treatment? How are we going to treat this plaza? How should I say this? With the amount of grandeur that it commands in its geographic location. You know, this is an opportunity to make this a centerpiece.
We think this is a very wonderful question to ask the city's planning agency. This will be a city plaza.
Yep.
And my client would not presume to suggest to the city the complete suite of what should be on a wonderful opportunity. And we are completely with you on the opportunity. We're building a 7,700 square foot building at this location, and we'll have one sidewalk cafe, maybe two. And so we don't want to jump ahead of the city and its ongoing plans about how it's going to treat the right-of-way that it will eventually own.
So I'm talking to the wrong person.
I believe so, respectfully.
No, you're talking to Mike.
I was just going to say, that's one. Go ahead.
But punchline, it's coming to us, right? The property is coming to us, meaning the Public Improvement Commission is going to be the care and custody of that sidewalk. The BBDA can give you guidance, but at the end of the day, it is this commission, so that the commission will engage the BBDA. There needs to be appropriate dialogue. It is just not the planning agency that gets to define it. They can give guidance on it, but as
I didn't mean to apply to the exclusion of all other city agencies. I was trying to make a somewhat different point, which is that the planning of this plaza is outside the scope of this project. We're one small component of the planning for the project, and we will maintain the Freedom Trail, and this project will maintain the kiosk, and we will relocate the bollards to a mutually agreed upon location. But as to the long-term plan, where the Hubway station goes and all that, we really can't speak to that.
It's a collaborative.
Right. We are in discussions, you know, in the city about this plaza. Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, so just
You just stated that you're going to retain the existing Freedom Trail?
No, I just said we are going to maintain.
Maintain.
The
But you're going to
Freedom Trail.
relocate, so you're reprogramming the plaza.
Well,
Right, fair enough?
we're relocating the Freedom Trail, and we have agreed to maintain it for them.
But why does it have to be relocated if you're going to maintain it?
So one of the issues, the Freedom Trail's location today is based on that fire lane. So with the Freedom Trail's preference is for the Freedom Trail to be through the middle of this plaza and not up against the building because of people's desire to walk directly along it. So this is
Totally agree, but they're
Well, we're
making the
maintaining
point that they're
bricks.
going to bring forward a PIC action to relocate that based on their design for that plaza.
It's mutually beneficial
Yes,
relocation.
Absolutely.
It's beneficial for the project so that they can get sidewalk cafes and more desirable business locations. So it is a mutually beneficial improvement.
Right, it's mutually beneficial for the city to activate the plaza, just to the point you made 10 minutes ago.
Absolutely. You're a partner
We
in that,
completely
correct?
agree. Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
And-
thank you. I
And
think
so
that's very
we-
important. So it's an
But I
active.
don't want to jump ahead of the city in terms of the overall planning of the
I
plaza.
agree together. But it's a partnership where we mutually
It is-
recognize
it is a
you pick this
partnership.
spot just because you have nothing better to do. You recognize
We
it.
look forward to being an active partner in that process.
All right.
And I will add also, we have had several conversations with the North End Beautification Committee, which is also very interested in being an active partner in what happens out there. So,
Excellent. It's exciting.
Other questions and comments for our partners?
Small project review. There's been any transportation review oversight, how this project's working?
so it was a design review component of small project
Anybody
review.
from BTD, planning?
The small project review regulations call this only, required only design review, so there hasn't been any BTD input.
So a couple of questions. What buildings, what's being programmed here? Any loading requirements, any restaurants, what are we doing? And where are we planning on doing all this loading if there is a commercial component?
So the uses that we anticipate are essentially the same as what is out there today. Service, restaurant, retail. We haven't identified any tenants as of yet. However, we are not proposing any changes to the existing loading and parking configuration that exists today on Cross Street.
Construction management plan, where are we with that?
Construction management plan is being drafted as we speak and will be on your desk by next week.
All right. It's not there today? No.
It is not. It is not there today.
And we'll jointly review that with Mass DOT to make sure that they're.
Yes.
Amy or Tom? No. Members of the public? All right. December 7th, enough time?
Yes.
Good. Oh, Lisa.
Projections.
Did you want to just hear about the projections, the
Oh,
awning?
yes. My apologies.
Canopies.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are multiple building canopies. These are not canopies for any tenants in particular. They're entrances to the building.
Do you have a visual rendering of it? That might be the fastest way to start the conversation.
There are 4 projections. One there, another one there, and at the corner of Hanover Street. You can see the projection here, there, and they kind of disappear behind them.
Again, this is license for the life.
So I'd like to elaborate on that. So at the time of the plan submission for new business, the proponent was requesting the approval for roof cornices and canopies. Since then, we've had conversations with PIC staff, and the plans will be amended where the projection limits are only for the canopies. The roof cornices will be removed from the projection list. As indicated on the plan, the vertical clearance below the canopies do vary, but the minimum vertical clearance is 10 feet. They will be drained internally.
Other questions or comments on the projections?
Did you think about a continuous canopy? Just putting it out there, every once in a while it does drizzle in this area, and have you given any thought to giving some cover in case if I should get caught in a April shower situation? No, I'm just thinking about all the pedestrians. I think all commission members recognize this is going to be one very hot spot. Many people are going to get there, but once in a while it rains, and then we run to find some shelter. It's a pure design decision.
Sure.
I'm not going to debate the issue. Just it's your
We
choice.
did not consider that, and I think you'd be surprised that there's about a 4-foot grade change from one side of the building to the other. So for us to have, what we tried to do is incorporate that grade change but with floor levels for each of the individual tenants so that we didn't have adjustments. And so it would be rather awkward looking to do that. So.
So just one more thing I wanted to add is that we have the proponent and the team has coordinated and received responses with BPDA, ISD, BWSC, Office of Neighborhood Services, as well as the Commission for Persons with Disability.
Thank you, Lisa.
Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Members of the public? All right, we'll see you guys on December 7th.
Thank you.
Or sooner.
Thank you.
Terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
Our final item of new business is Congress Street at 70 Federal Street Avenue, Boston proper, specific repairs on a petition by TGA 70 Federal Street LLC. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. For the record, Marvin Cine of Goulston Stores. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of Transwestern. Transwestern is proposing new entryways and certain other interior lobby renovations to its building located at 70 Federal Street. As part of the project, Transwestern is proposing certain street modifications which include new concrete sidewalks and new specialty colored concrete along Congress Street fronting the property. Here with me today are Mark Jackson of VHB and Tara Gilescu of CBT Architects, who provide some additional context and details, and we're open to answering any questions that you may have.
I'm Mark Jackson with VHB. We're proposing a specific repair on Congress Street, and this includes the extension of the colored concrete from the building entrance over the property line, about 2.9 feet, and that leaves clear width of standard city concrete is 7 feet. And we're also replacing a small portion of the concrete sidewalks at the front entrance in order to make them accessible. And we've coordinated with Sarah.
Yeah, yes. Sarah, are you folks okay with the differential color treatments within a possible path of travel?
We have not reviewed the sample yet, but I've talked with Bart.
So again, from an urban design, not my thing, your thing, urban design, is it absolutely imperative that you bring that vocabulary into the city space?
So part of it is, my name is Harel Pandya, principal at CBT. Part of it is, you know, the way this entry actually currently works is actually very recessed amongst all the entries along the city walls. Or urbanistically, the thought was to try to create a vehicle of identification so there's a way to, as you're walking as a pedestrian, to actually identify it with the entrance of the building. We're not pushing the entrance any far forward than it is, so as another tool from a pedestrian perspective and urbanistically, we thought this would be an effective tool to kind of create a more welcome mat or a arrival or a threshold to the actual new entrance that we're proposing, along with all the renovations that we're doing in the lobby. So we want to make a light and more bright entrance. So we thought that this concrete gesture would be a way to kind of actually engage the park in a way across the way.
5 years ago, there been a compatible thought pattern, but right now I think there's a heightened sensitivity to the people with visually challenged situations, where even the slightest color disparity within a path of travel seems to be of a concern. So Sarah, if you could look into that matter or share some guidance with these folks at this point in time so that they can, so that you can better articulate than my feeble attempts right now.
Sure. So people with low vision, which is a high population of us, might mistake that change in color as a step or a puddle, causing them to hesitate or stop. And so that's something we want to avoid within the path of travel. But as we discussed, we are okay with the dimensions of the city standard concrete that you are providing contingent upon later review of the sample.
Are there color concrete options that wouldn't be perceived as a hazard? Are there color concrete options that wouldn't be perceived as a hazard?
Yeah. Is there a different palette where they can still get that signature of, hey, there's something different happening here that can be tied back to their building without causing this disparity issue?
Yeah, so we generally like to avoid patterns within the path of travel or any projections, but we do understand the intent of the project, so we've been working with adjusting the dimension of the city standard concrete, but we still
And nor are we looking for a high contrast differential either. I think,
as long as you can achieve some common understanding.
correct. I think the goal is to try to create just a slight variation between the Boston City sidewalk, just to create an announcement rather than create something light and dark.
Is there an LOI for this?
I'm sorry?
Is there a... There is.
There's one before.
Great, thank you. Other questions or comments? Are there any telecom lines or anything like that beneath this that we should be?
So
I don't think so.
This is all surfacial. We're not going to.
Okay. So I'll have to dig it up a little bit.
Yeah, to put it back to your color scheme is going to be challenging.
Yes.
So make sure that your building is properly fed, first of all, through here, and that someone doesn't need to
dig it up.
Nice
Exactly.
asphalt patch to the middle of your color.
Yeah, right. That's not the front door you probably are looking for. Yeah. All right. Other questions or comments? Amy or Todd? Anita? Members of the public? Okay. All right. Very good. All right. See you guys on December 7th? Great. Thank you. Perfect. Until then. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
I was thinking, yeah.